Hello, dear listener. You're welcome or welcome back to a Walk with A.F.I podcast. And I welcome you to this very interesting episode. And I'm so glad that you are here because today I want us to talk about something that is not always easy for us to face. The risk of opening up when the response you get isn't what you hoped for. That feeling where you finally decide to be vulnerable with someone. You open your heart, your truth, you share the deep part of you, but instead of being met with understanding or care, we get what? Silence, indifference, or worse, manipulation most times. And this whole thing reminds me of this movie that I watched recently, Finding Me. That's the title of the movie by Funke Akindele. The wife was so deeply in love with her husband. She was vulnerable with him, she kept showing him the depth of her heart, but he didn't just fail to reciprocate this love, he manipulated her. It made her feel so small, like her love and vulnerability were weaknesses. And the most painful part is the fact that he kept trying, she kept showing up. He kept hoping that one day the guy would match her own emotional depth, but it never did. That hits me so hard because I think many of us have been there in some way. Ah, it's not just about romantic relationships. That is one thing I've realized. It happens with friends, family, even people you admire so much. You open up thinking this is safe, they will understand, but you are left feeling so exposed. The thing about vulnerability is that it's a big risk. When you open up to someone, you are handing them a deep part of you. You are hoping that they will handle it with care. But when they don't do that, or worse, when they use it against you, it cuts so deep and it's very painful. It makes you feel foolish, like you misread the connection, you got it all wrong. And then it's so easy to spiral into self-blame. You start blaming yourself, you start having issues with yourself, you start thinking that you have so much problem. No, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything. Maybe I'm too much, maybe I'm this, maybe I'm that. But here is the thing, their inability to match up your own emotional depth says more about them than it does about you. So some people aren't emotionally equipped to hold that kind of space, to have empathy, to be vulnerable, to understand you. And sometimes people intentionally avoid depth because it makes them to feel so uncomfortable, or because they are just not wired for that kind of connection, for that level of connection. That is not your fault. You shouldn't put that on yourself. I think more about the wife in that movie. For Kakudele, she acted the wife. Her love wasn't the problem. Her openness and willingness to show up emotionally weren't flaws. To me, the problem was that her husband didn't have the capacity or the desire to meet her there, to meet her at that spot, at that point. He wasn't equipped for that level of connection. That is the way I see it. But that doesn't mean that her vulnerability was wasted. To me, it meant that she was emotionally brave in a way that the guy couldn't match. So he couldn't match up the energy that she was putting into their relationship, into their marriage, into the family, into everything. Honestly, I get it. After you've been met with silence or indifference a few times, it's tempting to just stop trying. You just want to stop. You don't want to try again. You don't want to put yourself out there. It's so tempting to just forget about anyone, forget about anything called vulnerability, forget about anything called openness, forget about anything called building connection. You just say, I'm not opening up to anyone anymore. Not anymore. I'm done. I'm done with that life. But that's not the answer, honestly. Shutting down only protects you on the surface. Deep down, it keeps you from forming meaningful connections with people. So, first, I know it's not easy, but then there are ways to protect yourself without closing off or just shutting down or shutting everybody out of your life. You need to firstly pay attention to patterns. See, the truth is, if someone consistently fails to meet you emotionally, it might be time to adjust your expectations. Expectations make us to feel so much disappointment when people don't really meet us where we want them to. So if you're having so much expectation from people, when they don't do that, it hurts so badly. But vulnerability should be earned, not freely given to people. You should know that this person, okay, I can be vulnerable with this person. We should be earned. Check their pattern, check the way they are. So don't just give your vulnerability to just anybody. Don't give it out freely. Let people earn it. Let people earn it. Let them show that indeed they can hold it. And also be selective about who you open up to. Don't just open up to anyone. Don't just open up to anybody. It's not about building walls. You being selective about the people that you open up to does not mean that you are building walls. It's only about you knowing who is emotionally safe. You see how people handle other people's emotions. You see how they handle their own emotions. You hear what they say when other people are not there. You see the way they react when people are pointing out their mind or opening up their truth to them. And then you still want to select that kind of a person to be vulnerable with. Honestly, I feel like you are the one digging that pit yourself to dip yourself inside, because you need to check people, you need to know people. If you see that, oh, over time I've noticed this person, this is how it does when people come in their vulnerable state to them, they probably manipulate them or take advantage of them, or not even pay attention or just dismiss whatever people are saying. You shouldn't open up to that kind of a person. It's your choice. That's why I said you should be selective. You have to be selective. I won't select somebody for you and say, be vulnerable towards this person. You know the people in your life, you know the people you work with, you know the people you talk to. So you should know the words that you can be vulnerable to. And lastly, remind yourself that you are not weak for opening up. The fact that you are opening up, the fact that you are saying your truth doesn't mean that you are weak. Even when the other people or the other person does not respond the way you hoped, see, your vulnerability is a proof of your strength and not your weakness. Don't ever see it as a weakness. It's on them how they take it. Yes, I know it's hard. I get it. When you give so much of yourself and it's not met with the same energy, you feel so exposed. But vulnerability is not about the outcome. It's about the courage, to be seen, even when you don't know how it will be received. So the easy thing would be to toughen up, to harden up, to stop showing up emotionally and protect yourself at all costs. No matter what, I just want to protect myself. But my dear, true strength isn't about staying guarded. It's about staying soft even when you've been hurt. So vulnerability is a gift and not everyone will know how to handle it. That's okay. Your openness isn't wasted just because someone couldn't meet you there. You know what I admired about that wife? It's the fact that despite how broken and small her husband made her to feel, she didn't lose herself. She eventually found the strength to walk away, not because she stopped loving, but because she realized that her vulnerability deserved to be met with care. That's powerful. So it's okay to walk away. In fact, I will tell you, it's not that deep. We walk away from such people. And that's what I want to leave you with today, that vulnerability is not weakness. I said it in the first episode where we discussed vulnerability, that it is never a weakness, even when it's not reciprocated. So keep showing up as your whole real self, not because everyone deserves it, but because you, my darling, you deserve to live authentically. So do not allow anybody to make you feel like you opening up makes you weak. No. And just be selective. Know the kind of person you are opening up to. And if they are not meeting you there, if that person consistently disrespects, and never reciprocates your vulnerability, it's safe to move on. It's safe to stop being vulnerable with such a person. I'm not saying you should cut them out of your life. You can still, have normal relationship with them, but stop being vulnerable to those kind of people, because at the end of the day, is it that they come to use it against you someday or see you? I don't know, because I feel like we should all be truthful. At some point in our lives, we all have been in this state of vulnerability. So don't see people that are vulnerable when you've passed that stage. Don't see them to be weak. You've been there before. And if you haven't been there, I don't know if that's possible. You will still be there one day. That is just the bitter truth, because nobody can tell me that I've never been vulnerable. My dear, who are you? A grief god? Oh God, do stop. Do you understand? So it's normal for humans to be vulnerable. So don't take people's vulnerability for granted. Don't see it as a joke. Don't see them to be weak because they are being vulnerable. In fact, I feel like reverse is the case. If you make jest of people because they are being vulnerable, to me, you are the weak person and not them. And if people are vulnerable to you and you decide to play them, manipulate them, that is on you. It's your loss. It's not theirs. So I want you to keep showing up as your real self, just because you've been vulnerable before and the person treated you in some ways. Don't because of that stop being yourself. Continue to love yourself. Continue to be yourself. And thank you very much for having our way today. And if this episode resonated with you, which I'm very sure about that, yes, so just share it with somebody that might also need to hear it. And remember, your vulnerability isn't wasted, even when it's not matched. It's a sign of strength, not weakness. And until next time, please take care of your heart. Keep showing up as your real self. Continue to be intentional about growth. And don't be afraid to stay open. I love you and bye.